フライインイベント。アメリカ、ミシガン州の続きです。左は、五大湖の一つ、スペリオル湖。スペリオル湖の北側は、カナダになります。引き続き、無解説で進みます。
What's your tag? Is it Dolana?
So Dolan Aviation is too long by one letter, so I had to like do some funky Dolan aviation.
Yeah, okay, yeah, because I looked at it at first and I thought it was like an Indian lady type of thing, but like Dolana Vashin. Okay, yeah.
It was almost easier when it was unbilled disc.
But then now when you told me, I'm like, okay, I understand what it is now.
I don't want to talk about
it. It could be something crazy like major booty, so you're good to go.
Yeah.
We left the pack behind, Tolstoy.
Where are we? Oh, how'd that happen? We were upside down.
I don't know. Our modded caravans are too
I guess you could say while you were upside down, things went a little sideways.
Tolstoy, I saw there's a free DLC. I think it's probably something they ported in from FSX, but it's the CRJ 700.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I was almost thinking of downloading it and say, hey, let's take a flight somewheres. But
well, if I think about it, I mean, I haven't even flown all the airplanes I have already, but I'll certainly be adding more eventually.
Landing gear.
Yeah,
landing gear.
Maybe
landing gear.
Monday, Tuesday.
Landing gear.
Tomorrow's my
landing gear.
last day until I'm on baby duty.
Landing gear.
Ah, okay.
Landing gear.
Or crazy kid running around with taking his diaper off or something.
Landing
gear.
It's literally baby.
Landing gear.
Did I end up going the wrong direction?
Landing gear.
Like, how come everyone's so far away? I must have gone
up. Pay attention to the map.
Landing gear.
I was just following a line upside down. We seriously must have been going the exact opposite direction.
Landing gear.
Yeah, that's probably
landing gear. Landing gear. Landing gear. Landing gear. Landing gear.
Hey guys, what airfield are you
landing
up
gear.
to?
Landing gear.
Two-hearted.
Landing gear.
That doesn't help. KNEV.
I took a photographic evidence, Trent. Just the two of us with
Two hearts is 6 Yankee 5. 6 Yankee 5.
I guess I'm gonna go slow mode.
I have too much trust in the leader.
What? Did you go the other way, did you, Tolstoy?
Yes, we did.
I saw you when I took off, and I thought, they're doing a very wide turn onto route.
Took a long time to set their autopilot. So, does anybody have any interest in, like, I'm curious about doing as legit commercial IFR flight from like an international to another international in a 737 or 747, just to see what that's like.
I could do that.
Yeah,
I know someone else that can do it also. Starts with V and ends in ear.
Jeez. I just think it would be interesting, and the flight computers and those, I would love to learn those flight computers.
Yeah, well, it's kind of fun. The only frustrating thing sometimes is when those flight computers don't do what they're supposed to. That's when it. In the beginning, I was unhappy with that, but I think I've come to terms with it and I just make do something else, fly it, hand fly it.
Yeah, he more than makes do. He always manages to recover and does it better than everybody else.
Well, I'm not sure that you know that for sure, but I do manage to land anyway. That's true.
Yeah, because we start with 5 players and there's like the 2 of us left at the end. You're the only one who makes it.
I was going to ask that you were just speaking. Do you have a YouTube video of 320 Neo checklist and all that?
Was that Veer? Because I certainly do not.
I don't either, man.
So, Tolstoy's was a real pilot, is a real pilot. So the fact that he's alive, I mean, doesn't that mean he did something good with any of the landings and stuff?
That's right, and especially knowing where I've flown early in my early career.
Nice, gun pilot, nice.
I was trying to catch up.
Tolstoy's a Buffalo vet.
Don't have to worry about putting your gear down.
That alone is worth celebrating.
Right? You had to put up with Joe.
I know.
You missed the landing big dinger.
I don't know the details, but something I've read, the Fitzgerald had because of something to do with its design, didn't drain the water from the deck as quickly as some of the other ships. And so I think what happened was that they kind of got swamped by like a triplet of waves that were just so close together that the first wave did not have time to drain off before the second one hit him, then the third one hit him, and I still don't think they really know what exactly happened, whether it broke up on the surface, whether it rolled over, broke up on the way down, but that was 1975, and they often refer to the gales of November on Lake Superior, and that year November 10th was kind of early. It's usually more about this time, towards later in the month of November that they get storms like that. That year it was early. This point we're flying up to is called Whitefish Point, and the bay kind of that we see over there to the southeast is Whitefish Bay, and they were about an hour away from making it to this bay, and supposedly if they had been able to make it to that point, they would have had some shelter there. The waves wouldn't have been strong, but they did not quite make it. Up on this point, there is the Great Lakes Shipwreck Museum, and kind of interesting. It's definitely not on the way to anywhere. You really have to want to go to this museum if you want to come up here. There's just really nothing else up there. You're just driving up to go to the museum, and if you circle a point a little bit or look down as you fly past there, you can kind of see that there's kind of a representation of the building, small parking lot and whatever. But they do have the bell from the Edmund Fitzgerald in that museum. They were able to recover the ship's bell. None of the crew's bodies were ever found, and after a short while, it was just agreed upon that the wreck would be left alone.
The speculation is that it went down so fast they didn't even have time to send out a distress signal.
Yeah,
it was never heard from.
The frequency of the waves, like you were saying, it was just offset incorrectly, and the stresses were too much for the ship.
Mm-hmm. Another interesting little fact about today. I don't know if any of you are hockey fans, but today was the day in, I think it was 1979, that 18-year-old Wayne Gretzky had his first face-off with 54-year-old Gordie Howe.
Wow.
Two legends.
Yeah.
No way. What are the identifiers of the next airport?
Kilo Alpha November Juliet. As we're flying in, after we leave this point and head down towards Sault Ste. Marie, you'll fly past a larger airport, which is Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, their airport, and then we're going into Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan airport, just a little bit past that.
Yeah.
Before we land at Sault Ste. Marie, if you have any interest, and particularly if you downloaded the free DLC pack for the locks, but even on the default scenery, the locks are kind of interesting to see. You can kind of take a quick circle around the Sioux locks before we land there at the airport.
Okay. And yeah, when we're talking about Gretzky and Gordie Howe, Golem probably doesn't know who those guys are.
Neither do I.
I have been able to spend time with Lord Stanley, and it was wonderful.
Yeah. It would be like the greatest Aussie rules football player, but maybe 10 times that or something.
Alright, I just had a CTD, so I think I'm gonna end it here, guys.
Oh, that's
Okay.
bad.
Sorry to hear that.
Guys, have a good one. Thanks for hosting there, Sis, and thanks for putting this up, Casey.
Cheers.
Yeah, have a good one there, Veer.
Cheers.
We'll see you around.
See you later.
Landing gear. Landing gear. Landing gear.
There was a method to my madness by sticking this waypoint in the route. Not only did it get us up here to talk about the Edmund
Landing
Fitzgerald,
gear.
but also gives us, I think, a little more scenic route into Sault Ste. Marie. And so it kind of, with that little dog leg,
Yep.
kind of get to fly down the bay this way.
Perfect.
It's really nice.
Landing
No, I'm really
gear.
glad we came out to this
Landing
Whitefish
gear.
Point because
Landing
I've always
gear.
been a fan of Gordon Lightfoot's song about the
Oh,
Edmund
yes.
Fitzgerald.
I tried my best not to sing it for you guys.
One of my
Well, good.
favourite artists of the 70s was Gordon Lightfoot.
Yeah, no, he was an excellent. Did an
Remember the
excellent job
first
on
one
that.
I heard him. First one I heard him sing was Sundown.
Oh yeah, yeah. Also very famous.
What a singer he was.
Better take care. Is he still alive?
I have no clue.
I
No
don't.
clue
Yes,
who
he
it
is.
is.
I think
Still
he
singing too.
died last
He looks
year,
like
maybe.
hell, but he's alive.
Within the last 2 years, I think he passed away. I vaguely remember.
Gordon Lightfoot?
Yeah, I believe so, didn't he?
Oh, he's still alive.
Oh, is he? I don't know why I
Yeah,
thought
he-
he passed away like last year.
John Prine did.
Yeah, maybe I'm thinking of John Prine.
Yeah. He certainly looks like hell, but he's alive.
Yeah.
I mean, he's about as
Those rock stars,
wrinkled as you
man.
can get.
They're like worse than a war veteran with all they've been through.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's 82. His birthday was 2 days ago.
Oh, okay.
His voice is very thin and frail, but he still sings.
So the rumors of his death were greatly exaggerated, as the saying.
Greatly exaggerated.
Yeah.
I think I started with 2 o'clock as my time because I knew by the time we got to the end, we'd have the sunset.
Nice. Yeah, it looks about a 4 hour.
So what time do you have now?
A good question. I was just thinking about that. Almost 5 o'clock. No, I must.
I'm at 4:45, and I may have to back that back a little bit before we get to.
Yeah, I didn't put 2 o'clock. I put 3 o'clock, And yeah, I'm at 449. I might have to push that back a little bit.
Yeah, I'm at about 415, and it's just starting to set over here on the right side.
When we get to the last stop, when we land at Traverse City, if you're just at about at twilight, on one of the times I flew this route to check it out, I had it set up, and that was gorgeous coming down the bay into Traverse City, just as all the lights of the city are on and the lights of the runway.
Oh, nice.
It was very beautiful.
Yeah, I can see a crescent moon.
Give you my tour guide spiel for these Sioux locks before we get there. The locks enable the boats to make there's a 20 some foot drop on the St. Mary's River as it goes. It basically connects Lake Superior to Lake Huron. And as these orb boats go through, there's a 20-foot drop. There's St. Mary's Falls are over there. So the locks the first lock was built in the late 1800s, mid to late 1800s by the state of Michigan, and then 1880-ish or so turned over to the federal government, and they're now operated by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. There are 4 locks on the U.S. side of the border. Only 3 are, well, actually, I think 2 are in operation right now. And there's one on the Canadian side. And one on the Canadian side, they actually a few years back built a new lock within the confines of the old lock. So it's a lot smaller now. It's mostly just used for pleasure craft and tour boats and things like that. And on the U.S. side, they're taking 2 of the locks and are going to, they're in the process of building one large lock out of the two locks that they'll have. Right now, they only have one lock that can handle the huge iron ore boats. So then they'll basically go from 4 locks to 3. Have 2 large ones that can be used for the big boats, and then one smaller one.
Yeah, because where I grew up in Cornwall, Ontario, we had locks there on the St. Lawrence River. So we'd go on the U.S. because we would have to go onto the U.S. side to then go through the locks, like drive underneath them.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice and interesting, fun.
So the lights you see, the airport on slightly to our right, of course, that's Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario Airport.
Yeah. Yeah, see there's like 5 lights. 5, 6 lights.
Well, us Canadians like to make it look like Christmas.
Yeah, that's right.
I see those
With our
wind turbines.
Wind turbines?
Yeah, see,
oh
wind
yeah,
farm.
yeah, I just saw that.
That's awesome. Wow.
I used to count those when I flew overhead, and I'm pretty sure there was like 105, maybe even 112, but there was a lot of them. Well, actually, now we could count them. Just come back and do an accounting mission.
And that tells the tale of the Edmund Fitzgerald. A lot of wind around here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting that they picked those up.
I think it's amazing that you can actually see the shadows of the blades moving on the ground.
Yeah, great detail.
I wonder if you'd feel turbulence flying through it.
You could try.
It gets a little choppy.
As you said, the word choppy it's like the frame rate just like froze for a split second. I was like, oop.
Yeah, I think it's those turbines.
Yeah, they can freeze the frames.
Those darn frame freezers.
Landing gear.
Well, it looks like the grass is greener in Canada.
Maybe.
After all that, I just had an overspeed.
The tax bill's a little higher.
We had a student living with us about 25 years ago from Sault Ste. Marie.
Really?
And the end of the middle of the second year he was with us, he was heading back home for Christmas. And a couple of his buddies asked him to buy new bicycles for them before he came back in Toronto. So, just, I don't know, about a week before Christmas, he strapped these bicycles onto the back of his Volkswagen.
Landing.
And he looked like he was being so careful with them. I said, "Why are you being so careful?" He says, "These things are worth $6,500 each."
Oh my.
Wow. And that was 25 years ago.
That was 25 years ago, yeah.
Yeah.
Landing gear.
Okay,
Landing
so
gear.
just beside the
Landing
airport
gear.
is the locks.
Yeah, you're
gear.
pointed straight
gear.
at it. At least
Landing
I'm
gear.
watching you on Twitch.
Landing
so
Yeah,
you can see
because it's glitching.
Isn't it though? Yeah.
Yeah.
Landing gear.
I wonder what it looks like when you get over top of it.
Yeah, I'm gonna. I'll fly over it before.
Probably just the LOD model's not working quite right.
And you want to talk about the guy that did these two? It's the same guy did both of these DLC packs. And, he says he's no expert at it. So, but you'll see an interesting little glitch when we get to the second one over by Mackinac Bridge. I'll try to remember to point out when we're there. At least on his scenery, he did put a boat in one of the locks. And actually, I see there's a maintenance boat in the other one, like a dredge.
Yeah, nice looking boat. Ship.
Landing gear. Landing gear. Landing gear.
Okay, I see what he did, because all he did is you took like the photogrammetry of it and added it in. Probably from Google
gear.
Maps. But yeah, when you get up close, it doesn't glitch.
It doesn't glitch as much.
No.
Yeah.
Somebody just fly under the bridge?
Wasn't me.
That usually doesn't work.
Yeah, it didn't. Oh, I'm glad I had my damage off. I just bounced off the ground. Jeez. I was hoping nobody saw that.
As you get further away, like I'm on the other side, and I can see it glitching again.
Yeah, it's a little spastic, but it's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, it's probably a lot better than what was there before.
wonder if we could land on one of those laneways between the locks.
Oh. No. I came in on an approach looking to land on a highway next to the airport. That's the wrong thing.
I'll give it a go. Yeah, you can land right next to that boat.
That was close. I got very close to the ground. Wasn't hit it.
Tolstoy's giving it a go. It's a little wet on the right side
Try and
there.
miss that rock.
Yeah, little spikes don't hurt you.
Okay. Oh yeah, I like that ship. I'm watching you, Trent.
Hope we're going the right way.
I'm trying. Yeah, we are. I double checked this time.
Double.
I'm going to try and come down on. I'll slow down to fraction. See if I can come down on your undercarriage almost.
Alright, we'll try to hold it steady then.
Yeah, it's too hard flying from the front, looking back, inverted, and keeping it steady.
Really nice views on the stream.
Yeah, it's really nice with just a few clouds. Go with. I changed to mid-level clouds. Now it's wiggling its tail. Let's see. I'll go back.
a few miles ahead of us, we'll be flying over Chippewa County Airport, which is a former military base of some kind. I can't remember if it's Air Force or what it was, but it was turned over to the county some years back. And as you fly over, if you're over it and look down at the runway, you'll see that when it came time to repave the runway, they just took a little bit of the center and made a shorter and skinnier runway and maintained that in the middle, and the rest of it is just left to crumble.
Cool.
A week or so ago, I for some reason, just because I like this area up here, I fly a lot of instrument approaches to airports up here on X-plane, and so I was flying in here to practice an instrument approach. And interesting thing I found is that these big paved areas you see, particularly on the northeast side of the airport here, are marked on the airport diagram as something to the effect of in the winter time, just because they're plowed doesn't mean they're for aircraft. It's a testing area for
landing gear.
For cars.
Landing gear.
So I don't know if they're doing like traction testing or cold weather testing or whatever, but apparently a lot of the automakers bring cars up here for testing in the winter.
And there's a big ring up there too. Do they use that?
I don't know.
Yeah, because I noticed that like a racetrack.
Huh.
Oh, you'd have racing on your mind. Yes, of course.
Yeah. Whether it's horse racing or car racing, I'm not sure, but
well, it's not horse racing because it's circular.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they use airports as courses for car racing, don't they?
Maybe like for commercials.
I was going to say, be one of those famous commercials where they say, "Do not attempt professional driver on closed course."
Well, because last week, it was on Friday, Veer's flight plan. He showed us a place where that's where they do the closed course car commercials.
I remember that. Yeah.
It's like, that's interesting.
Coming up to Mackinac Island, one of my favorite places in the world. I've been here many, many times. Not so often now that I'm not flying anymore because it's a little bit hard to get to from where I live. But big vacation spot. There's only about, I think about 500 year-round residents, but very, very busy in the summer, although like so many places, this year was an exception. I guess its modern claim to fame are fudge shop after fudge shop, and there are no cars on the island. Horses, bicycles, pedestrians. The only vehicles on the island are, I think, a fire truck and an ambulance, and there might be and a police car. And that's about it. It's something they decided years ago. I can't remember. Probably back in the. I really don't know the history of that. Maybe 1940s, 1950s. But anyway, it's something they'll probably never let go of. So you see the UPS deliveries being made by horse-drawn dray and things like that. You land at the airport and you call ahead on the Unicom frequency because the taxi can take a while to get there because it's a horse-drawn carriage.
Oh wow!
A lot of his one of the reasons I liked it is just there's a lot there. A lot of people that visit Mackinac Island come over on the ferry and they walk around for 4 or 5 hours and they eat some fudge and they walk around the shops and buy the cheap souvenirs and they go home, and that's kind of it. And there's so much more to the island than just the touristy stuff. There are lots of walking trails, hiking trails, lots of history. There's actually 2 forts, but the main fort, Fort Mackinac, was built by the British during the Revolutionary War. The U.S. got ownership of the island and the fort as part of the Northwest Territories Treaty. And then the British took it back again in the War of 1812. So the island is one of those places that's just gone from, you know, the French in the fur trapping days of the 16 and 1700s to the British to the U.S., back to the British, back to the U.S.
Wow.
But the main fort, Fort Mackinac, is still there, and it's, like I said, a lot of history, kind of an interesting place, and fun to walk around, and fun to walk around in the evening when all the day visitors have gone home, and things just get very nice and very peaceful and very quiet around there in the evening.
Landing gear. Landing gear.
And luckily for pilots, given the fact that they don't have any cars, a lot of people go, well, then why do they have an airport? And that's strictly because of the fact that most winters the water around the island freezes, so there's no ferry service, so no supplies, no nothing. The only way to get anything on and off the island for a good part of the winter is by airplane. And the airport is most of the island is state parks. The airport is run by the state because it's right smack dab in the middle of the state park.
Landing gear. Landing gear. Landing gear.
I've got a
Landing
cloud
gear.
right in front
Landing
of me.
gear.
Gotta drop. I didn't realize I was still climbing
Landing gear.
up over
gear.
4,500 feet.
Landing gear. 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 Landing gear.
Sizzling, your flaps are out.
Yeah. It's because I thought I was like so close. But then I zoomed in and still not there.
Oh, I see. Oh, yeah, that's right. You are quite a ways ahead of me. Yeah, sorry about that. You could have been on approach for all I knew.
Well, I'm doing the signature long approach, the slow approach.
Oh,
right,
nice.
Trent?
Long straight in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, here comes La-di-da in a nice Cessna jet.
Citation?
The longitude looks nice. Yeah.
Yeah, he just whizzed past me about 5 minutes ago.
Because he was in the King Air when he arrived.
Yep.
A little bit too slow.
A little too slow.
Oh, I didn't have my camera angle right. There we are. Oh, that looks good. There, I got you just before you disappeared.
It's awesome.
Yeah, when I hear him, I think of Dreezy. I haven't seen Dreezy.
Yeah, we haven't seen Dreezy for quite a while.
Yeah, I think he popped in. I think maybe 2 weeks ago for a little bit.
Okay.
But other than that, yeah, I haven't seen him.
He's been pretty heavy with work.
Yeah, that's what he had said back then.
And see, and these flights don't suit him because he's working now.
Yeah.
It's 1:15.
Technically, I'm working as well. Technically.
Technically.
Casey, is this where we see the bridge?
Yeah, the bridge is about 4 or 5 miles off to the west there. Kind of, if you look towards the sun, well, depends what time you're set to, but if you kind of look towards over where the sun would be setting, the bridge is over there.
Okay, so we'll see it on our way out.
Say it again.
We'll take a look at it on the way out.
Yes. Yep.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, I can see it just past the airport.
I don't know how much longer you guys have left in the flight plan, but I did make an IFR plan for a 320.
Is that for today?
No, for whenever. It's all for you guys, but it's the legit Disney Express from Denver to Orlando.
Landing gear.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll do that.
With all the funky waypoint names after Disney characters.
Out of the waypoint names on the way in.
It's like Jasmine, Rafiki. The first two were Akuna Matata.
Akuna Matata.
Did you say that was in a 320?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay, that's probably a good plane because I think it behaves better than the Boeings from a FMC point of view.
Yeah, the 320's fly-by-wire.
Yeah, they're doing a really good job with their mods.
Yeah.
But Vera and I took the 747s on a 5-hour long-haul flight. Well, that's actually a short-haul flight, but
So,
I was gonna say.
Made it.
I've been building a flight plan for the South Island of New Zealand, and it includes a glacier landing.
getting ones. A lot of
That's
places.
a universal problem, yeah.
Yeah.
You said the next airport is 6 Yankee 8?
Yeah, 6 Yankee 8. Oh, looks like, are we in San Francisco? It's the Bay Bridge.
Yeah.
It's a nice little bridge,
Big,
yeah.
big suspension bridge, yeah.
Interesting.
This
Reflection
bridge
on the water.
This bridge, although there again it didn't happen this year, but this bridge every year on Labor Day in September, they close down half the bridge and you can actually walk across it. I've done that a couple times.
Oh, nice.
It's very interesting.
How long of a walk is that?
I think it's about 5 miles across. You walk over northbound to southbound, and then you either take a bus back to the north side, or like if you're staying on the island, you catch a ferry from the south side back to the, if you're on the island, you take a ferry over to the north side of the bridge in the morning, and then you walk the bridge and then take a ferry back when you're done.
Right.
And a good part of the bridge is just a metal grate over it, so as you're walking, you actually look down at the water. It's kind of interesting.
If you land on the bridge, you might fall through it.
Yeah.
Landing gear. Landing gear.
Not speaking from
Landing
experience or
gear.
anything.
Yeah.
And might is not really the right word.
You can land on it, but you'll kind of phase through it.
Oh yeah.
Landing
And
gear.
then eventually something catches you.
Yeah.
Landing gear.
You get hung up on it
Landing
for a little
gear.
bit, and then it drops you in the water.
Oh.
Mackinac Island that we just left and Beaver Island, which is our next stop, are they're both about 500 residents year round, and the school sports teams fly to their, like if Mackinac Island goes to Beaver Island to play basketball, they fly.
Oh, nice.
Like,
Oh, you can fly under the bridge.
yeah.
You can fly into it?
Somebody tried it?
Under.
Oh, under, yeah.
I think, well, maybe you could fly into it. I don't know.
I think
Go until you hear a bang.
can. Knowing this group, it was one of the first things I tested when I downloaded the St.
You flew upside down and tried to go through it.
Well, Casey, thank you for suggesting those downloads.
Yeah, when I saw those, I was the first time I flew up in this area after the sim came out, I was extremely disappointed. You know, knowing the area as well as I did, and the way the bridge looked in real life, I was extremely disappointed the way it looked on the default. So I was glad that this guy kind of took the project on. He's got about, I don't know.
You ask a question, and all of a sudden you realize, yeah, it's not that bad. And in this case, we don't see each other, although you see me, but we don't see each other, so it's not like, you know, I talk funny or what. No, it's...
Landing gear.
Well, there's still some doubt about that.
Yeah. There's some people that just don't have mics. They just have headphones.
Oh, okay.
And then there's some
runway
people that are
27
just
here. That's my number.
Charlie Fox, what is is there a significance to the 27 on your name?
The 27th falls precisely between our two birthdays, my wife and I, which are a week apart.
Oh, okay.
And that's the day on which we were married.
Ah, nice.
Oh, you'll win some brownie points for that.
Yeah. Sorry, honey, I didn't buy you anything for your birthday. I just bought it for our anniversary.
Oh, you know it.
Yeah. I'm like, rather than celebrating yours and my birthday, let's just celebrate together. We're like two weeks or so.
Actually, what we often do, because two of our kids' birthdays are within a few weeks of ours, we often just have one hell of a big party.
Yeah.
You were thinking Charlie Fox was a Canadian call sign, eh, Tolstoy?
Well, possibly, but also I wondered, like, I like the, the abbreviated form of 727, like, so 27, 37, 57. I always like those 7 numbers.
Ooh, look at all the cars here. Somebody's having a party. Oh. What a way to distract myself. 3 bounces.
So what is next on the plan? Which airport?
6Y3.
6Y3, yeah.
6 Yankee Tree.
Casey pilot, Baron, and myself are just really lined up close on final. And I think Airshow's behind me.
Look good.
Airport was closed for many, many years, and in 2015 was finally reopened. A group of pilots that live up in this area had volunteered and had worked for several years getting it back into shape, and finally got the state, that the island is now owned by, and I'll tell a little story of how the state came to own the island, but the island's owned by the state, and the pilots worked with the state government to get the airport back open, and one of the stories is they used, I believe, an Islander to fly a mower over in pieces, little by little, and then a few guys got together on a weekend and reassembled the mower so that they could mow the runway and get the airport back open. But, I kind of love that story. The story about the island, I won't go into too much detail because we'll keep it family friendly, but the island was in the late 60s, early 70s, was owned by a guy who was kind of a wealthy philanthropist in Michigan, and bought the island, hacked out the runway because he was a pilot, and flew over here, but let's just say he was using the island for purposes that were frowned upon, and he wound up fleeing the country, went to France and then Amsterdam, I think. He died in Amsterdam in the mid-90s, but somebody that was involved in this situation with him tipped him off that the police were closing in, so he hightailed it out of the country. And so the island, I think probably just went back to the state because of back taxes or something like that. So as I said, it sat empty for a long, long time till this group of volunteers finally convinced the state to let them reopen the airport.
They didn't do any investigation there?
Say it again?
Did they do any investigation on the island?
They did, and to this day, I don't know if there's any official, but to this day, there are people that have kind of made this whole story their hobby because they're trying to prove that he was actually tied to some murders in the Detroit area. So there's a whole
yeah.
There's people make entire hobbies out of trying to figure out, if this guy was involved or not, and the whole whole story. There's all kinds of, there's a multi-part documentary on YouTube about it, and quite a bit of stuff floating around out there. So the place kind of has a story, but
a dark past.
this is the fourth island fourth and last island we land at on this trip, and this is the only one that's uninhabited.
Okay.
Some of the buildings are still there from when he owned it. No one lives there full time.
Glad he dies there and back already.
Landing gear.
Casey, is this the lake that you recommended, relative low sun or already below the horizon?
The next stop, or final stop, I kind of set it so that, and we're after this airport, it's kind of a long leg. It's 45 miles to the final stop, so we might just kind of time it so that you're just at twilight as we finish up.
Okay.
Or as I call it, the sizzling popcorn tradition.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
Twilight finale.
Twilight finale. I could probably turn off my white lights and just use the sun as the light to light up the camera. It's bright.
Pretty bright.
Yeah. Now we gotta try and find this airport in the brightness. Looks like it's on the north end.
Yes. North end and yeah, a little bit past halfway. Probably about 2/3 of the way, to the north, a third of the way from the north end. It's in the middle of very tall trees.
Yeah, I can start seeing the trees are cutting out.
Yeah. I've watched a few. I haven't flown here myself, but I've watched a few YouTube videos of people flying in here, and it looks like they're kind of flying into a tunnel. They say that once they get below the treetop, the winds can be howling across the lake, but once they get below the treetop level, it's perfectly calm at the runway because they're just surrounded. Yeah, and you don't get that effect so much in the sim. The trees aren't that tall as they are when
There wasn't too much room there.
Landing gear. Landing gear.
Gun pilot, what speed
Landing
are you
gear.
when you initiate your
Landing gear.
going inverted?
Landing gear. Landing gear. Landing gear. Landing gear.
It's a secret.
Yeah, secret.
Because I've tried it like twice today. I've crashed both times.
I think it was 110.
Oh, that's probably why. And I also had flaps down. That may have been not a good thing either.
Did you have your gear down?
Yeah, I did. For a change, right?
Yeah.
Landing gear. Landing gear. Landing gear.
Sorry, mate. Sorry, Tolly. I was unmuted the whole time because we had a visitor at the door.
Landing gear.
Oh, that's all right.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, 110. If you didn't hear me.
Okay. Yeah. No, I didn't. But I think Trent may have
Yeah.
given up that number.
Yeah, that's the magical number. Anything under 110, you're probably
Okay.
not going to pull out.
Yeah. Or yes, I would have to say from experience, I'm not going to pull out. I think I started at about 105, 102.
Landing gear. Landing gear. Landing gear. Landing gear.
If
Landing
you
gear.
to South Fox, or
Landing
where's
gear.
next?
Landing gear.
Say it again.
I was just wondering, where is the next stop?
Tango Victor Charlie, Traverse City.
Copy, Tango Victor Charlie.
Landing gear. Landing.
Victor Charlie. If you fly a little bit east of the direct course line and you fly right down the bay, or kind of fly down the west arm of the bay going into Traverse City, you'll be set up right on a long final to runway 18. It's kind of scenic.
Landing gear.
I'm a little after
Landing
5
gear.
o'clock on the time, so that's, I think it's going to work out just about right as far as by the time we get there.
Landing gear. Landing gear. Landing gear. Landing gear. Landing gear. Landing gear.
That looks nice. Sunset.
Yep.
Landing gear. landing gear, landing gear.
I've got a nice crescent moon on my screen in the top
Just
right
going to
corner.
say that.
This peninsula sticking out in the middle of the bay a few miles ahead of us there is, much like we were talking about, something about this latitude is favorable towards cherries. The same must be true
Landing
for
gear.
grapes, because you
Landing
drive up
gear.
along that
Landing gear.
peninsula and it's
Landing
just
gear.
winery after
Landing
winery along there.
Oh, nice.
A bunch of drunks, huh?
Bunch of whiners.
Yeah,
Bunch of
a bunch
whiners.
of whiners. I'm sure all the wine comes in handy in the winter after all the lake effect snows. So.
Yeah.
Just after a good bit of shoveling, I need a glass of whiskey.
You gonna say, wake up, popcorn?
No, I was looking down my phone.
It looked like you'd nodded off.
We lost him.
Yeah.
Oh, why don't I have the audio?
You don't have
I
the
can hear you,
audio?
Tolly. I can hear you.
Oh, I can hear you, but I just... It might be the delay with popcorn. I saw his mouth moving, but I didn't hear him.
Yeah, it's so fine. He's a ventriloquist.
I mean, I know that-
He's just gone weird on that potty training.
Yeah.
He's him talking in his sleep.
Oh, yeah. Because last night, trying to sleep, and my wife was already asleep, and all of a sudden I can hear her laughing. I'm like, is she laughing? And she laughs again. I hit her. I'm like, are you laughing?
This is being recorded.
And she's like, well, yeah, not that kind of a hit, but like
Yeah,
a
I know.
nudge, like wake up.
Yeah.
But she's laughing. I'm like, what's going on? She's like, well, I just had a dream that you and I, and then your parents, were having a push-up competition. I'm like, what? I was like, wow. So she was laughing at that, and I was like, okay. Sounds good. Go
Super
back to sleep.
random.
Who won?
His mom.
See the flashing lights, but I feel like it should be right beside it. There's a streak of white lights. I feel like that's where the runway should be. Just to the right of it.
Yeah.
Calm down there, Canada.
That's where the party is.
Yeah.
Landing gear. 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 Landing gear.
Kilometers.
Kilometers.
I'm seeing the airport marker in kilometers.
It shows nautical miles on mine.
Wow, it
That's
could be
Cherry Capital.
Yeah, I wonder. I installed a couple things today. It might have had something to do with that. I installed what's it called?
The Monarchy expansion.
That was already installed. Believe me. No, I
There's
SimBrief, and things like that, where I might have chosen, I don't know, hybrid or something. I don't know.
Yeah, there's options in the sim for metric now.
Yeah.
Whew, we're finally there.
Landing gear. Landing gear.
Just moved over to the right side of the caravan. I'll just land it from the right seat. That's for something different.
Well, Casey, this has been wonderfully entertaining. Thank you.
Yeah, this has been great.
Thank you, Casey.
Yes, thank you very much. That was very nice, Casey.
Landing gear.
I just thought I'd say that now in case I die on this landing. about 4 airports back, I heard a clatter inside my controller, and I think I broke 2 springs on the elevator.
Landing gear. Landing gear.
I've lost all the resistance. I can't tell where it is. So I'm going to have to take it apart and look.
Cheers, gents. That was bloody good fun.
Yeah.
All right, good seeing you. See you again. We should do a jet flight sometime soon.
Definitely. That'll be awesome.
Maybe we'll do yours in the C4J or CJ4.
Yeah, all right, cool. Yeah, I'll let you know once I've got it sorted and send it through to you.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good.
Nice one. Thanks a lot, gents.
Okay, we'll see ya.
Cheers.
Yeah.
See you later.
So that was Door County.
The beginning of the trip was Door County. That's in Wisconsin. And the end of the trip's in Michigan.
Again, thank you, Keith Spile. And for those that are new, we'll have our next one's on Friday night, same time. Flight plan hasn't been decided yet, but that'll be decided by tomorrow. I'll have that up.